Politicians? Where we're going, we don't need politicians. These guys are the parasites of humanity, using force, coercion, violence, and extortion to fund their projects. Do you really like the politicians who represent you? Or have you been a victim of the left-right paradigm cult that they've put us in for a few generations? Thanks for joining me on the Freedom Lovers Show. I'm your host, David James Rodriguez. We're building a voluntary world, one relationship at a time. And it's starting to become clear that the politicians are the problems. They're the ones forcing us to do stuff. They're the ones forcing cops to do stuff. Using money, of course. And then they sit in their plush neighborhoods and face no risk, no hardship, no difficulty. They can just tax people to get their money. They're not the business person out there trying to run a business, try to employ people. They're not the salesperson trying to convert people and present and persuade people. They're not the artist creating good things of imagination and development and production. They are the least like people probably in history. Would you agree that politicians will not hold a shiny place in history unless the politicians have the awards and the accolades? That's why they killed Martin Luther King, because he was upending their power. Gandhi. And some of these guys are statists too, so I'm not going to say that MLK was, pro-voluntary relationships 100% of the time. He seemed to be a socialist to some extent. But if it's voluntary socialism, fine. Just don't use violence, force, intimidation, threats against peaceful people. That's all we're asking. So I think it's time, my friends, where people are going to stop participating with politicians and their edicts and their commands, because we don't have to obey anybody, especially if we don't have a contract with them. And this is part of the worldwide self-ownership awakening. Pretty good news, I would say, on this Wednesday morning, my friends, that politicians are becoming the clear enemy of the people. And it's really difficult because they have really nice clothes, really good marketing slogans and PR, and they all know it is mind control. That is very clear, and this whole mask and scandemic and lockdown is all psychological as well. So once you liberate yourself from mental slavery, then you will be free. And you probably already are. You just haven't remembered this truth for a long time, because we're all busy, running around trying to get some money and run around trying to get all these things to please us. But as we take a look inside, look at the truth for who you are and who I am, we realize that we are the kings and queens on the land, equal to all the humans in terms of value of our humanity. You are a significant, sacred being. So am I. So perhaps we can start talking about the reality that politicians do not help the people. They do not help the businesses. What they do is they get in the way and become the third party. They become the middleman and use intimidation and violence against peaceful people. And it never was acceptable, and now it's becoming more unacceptable. The unacceptability factor has increased. So thanks for joining me on the Freedom Lovers Show. We're building a voluntary world, one relationship at a time. And I think it's fair to say that politicians do not have your interests at heart. In fact, they only have their own interests at heart. But in a voluntary world, it's about win-win outcomes, mutually beneficial relationships. Nobody gets to be the pimp or the prostitute unless you choose to. And that's what politicians have been doing. But it's not a voluntary relationship. It is slavery, what they're doing, because it's mental slavery. They force your kids into schools, and the whole scam of statism in general as a cult religion. So we are transcending, we are expanding, and it's a beautiful time to be alive, my friends. So let's keep transforming today.